Hare Krishna devotees, Dandot Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Welcome to another week of BhagavatSanga program. We are continuing our theme of prayers of Sukhdev Goswami from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is from Canto 2, Chapter 4, verses 12 to 23. We have a wonderful devotee presenting today, Abhay Prabhu. Thank you, Abhay Prabhuji, for this service, and over to Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prashant Prabhu. Let me share my screen. Devotees, can you see my screen?
We can see it, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. So again, thank you so much, Prashant Prabhu. Thank you so much, devotees, for joining today. So today we are going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18, prayers of Sukadeva Goswami. So let's do our prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatim uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki om ajnana timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri guruvai namah. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenatarim. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18. Hiratahunandra pulinda pulkasha Abhira Shumbha Yavana Kasadaya Yenye cha Papa Yad Apashrayashraya Shuddhanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. This translation by Srila Prabhupada. Hirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhira, Shumbha, Yavana, members of the Khasa races, and even other addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord due to His being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto Him. So first of all, thank you so much, His Grace Satyasara Prabhu and Jai Subhadra Mataji and Prashant Prabhu for giving me this service. I'm not very qualified, but with your blessings, I would like to do this service for my own purifications. I would also like to offer obeisances to all the Vaishnavas in the assembly and seek their blessings. Hare Krishna. So this particular verse, when we read Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, we occasionally come across a long purport. So what is that? Why is that? So it is because Srila Prabhupada is trying to make a point, and even though it seems long to read, when we read it, we get a true insight or inner meaning of the verse. So we are so blessed to have access to this knowledge. There is no way we can understand the verses in this way ourselves. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So this is one such verse. It has a long purport. So based on my understanding, I prepared some slides, to talk about different aspects of the purport that Srila Prabhupada has given, and I try to add my own understanding to it. So first of all, we'll talk about some history. So I would like to narrate a brief narration of Srimad Bhagavatam part, with the pastime of Lord Parashurama. So the Parashurama was the son of Jamadagni Rishi, and his mother's name was Renuka. So once when he was away, a king Kartavirya Arjuna came to Jamadagni's hut. So Jamadagni has a Surabhi cow, so he was able to, take care of all the king and his associates, by the stuff that he was able to get from the Surabhi cow. because the Surbhika was able to give him, all the food stuff, all the arrangements. So the king was, pretty well taken care of. His associates were taken care of, by the power of that cow. So then the king was astonished, and he thought, well, how come, this rishi, he lives in a hut, he was able to make such a nice arrangement. So he found out, how exactly he made the arrangement. Then the rishi had a Surabhika. So then what he did is he forcefully took it. He thought, well, the cow is more useful to me than the Jamadagni Rishi. So the cow, her name was Kamadhenu, and her calf, Mahishmati, they cried, but the king did not care. He took them to his own city. So when Parshurama returned, who was the supreme personality of Godhead himself, he found out, what happened. So he went to, Kartavirya Arjuna's city, and he had a war with him. And then he killed the king, and he rescued the cow. Now, after some time, the Kartavirya Arjuna's sons, they were pretty sad because, Parshurama killed their father. So they came, and when Parshurama was not around, they killed Jamadagni. So when Jamadagni came back, he found out about, the murder of his father. So he went out again, and this time he killed all the sons of Kartavirya Arjuna. And at the same time, he also killed all the Kshatriyas, because they were abusing their power. So here we see that the Lord protects the cows and those who take care of them. He does not tolerate any offenses against them. Remember, we say in this prayer, Go Brahmana Hitayacha. And further, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna instructs to Go Raksha. So protecting of the cows is very important. So anyway, so Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport that due to Parshurama's fear, many Kshatriyas ran away to the faraway regions of the planet. So now on the slide, you can see that the names of the various races in their respective areas from around the world. So I'm going to read some names, in there. That's the part of the verse. So Kirata, they are the residents. These are the Kshatriyas who ran towards the lower regions of the Himalayas and the present day Burma. Huna is another race. They are the residents of Germany and the Russian regions. Andhra is the same province. It still exists in the South India. Pulinda is another set of inhabitants, and they are the residents of the Greek and Rome. And an example from that community is Alexander the Great. Abhira, they are the Malechas from the Caucasian hills. An example is Muhammad Ghori. And Yamanas. So these are the Kshatriyas who ran away to the Turkey province. They were the sons of Maharaj Yayati. And lastly, the Khasa. And they were the Mongolians from the Chinese regions. So all these provinces at one time were ruled by the kings of Bharata, and Mahabharata has references of the kings and their armies from these areas. They supported, either Pandavas or Kauravas, based on their alliances, for each of those respective parties. So this is regarding the history. So now let's talk about, the disconnect. So over the time, these inhabitants in these provinces were separated, from Bharatvarsha and became their own countries in the world. But due to the disconnect from the original Vedic civilization, they remained constantly engaged in the sinful activities. They fell from the original standards they were expected to be. Like, for example, in the beginning of this year, we had this big winter storm, and then hundreds and thousands of branches, they fell from the trees, So what happened to them? They became useless, and eventually the city administration picked them up, and then they either recycled them or destroyed them. So when a branch of a tree is cut off from the tree, it stops getting the nutrition from the main tree, and then slowly it dries and eventually it decays. So similarly, human beings suffer from the lack of proper knowledge and guidance. Srila Prabhupada mentions that despite of messages from Lord's great devotees like Jesus Christ and Muhammad, They try to do a good job of spreading the God awareness in many parts of the world, but still the civilization remained godless. Many people who try to follow Christianity or Islam or any other religions, they seem to be deviated from understanding the core principles. And what happens when the society is disconnected? All kind of chaotic situations occur. Like today, when we turn on the TV or we read the news, we see that all the disorderly situations, are happening. Russia is waging war on Ukraine. China is giving loans to poor nations and taking their lands. African nations are struggling with civil war, mass shootings and gun violence in America, protests in France, and you name it. I mean, there are many more. So the protectors are exploiting those who needs protection, women, children, and they are not even sparing the poor animals. Just for a small meal, people are killing cows in the slaughterhouses. See, when Maharaj Parikshit, who was the grandson of Maharaj Yudhishthira, when he was touring his vast kingdom, when he saw a man trying to kill a cow, he immediately arrested that butcher and he duly chastised him. Why? Because as a king, he knew that he is supposed to protect the cows. So what is happening nowadays? Nowadays, with these slaughterhouses, they are becoming an organized business. People talk about equality, fraternity, and non-violence, but on the other hand, they are killing cows. So the basic understandings of that animal also has a soul is missing. And when that happens, people who are involved and the countries as whole get suffering and due to severe reactions. People go and pray in church. They beg forgiveness for their sins, but then they go to McDonald's and eat hamburgers for lunch. Do you think they would be spared from the laws of karma? No, they will pay a huge price for their sinful reactions. People develop body consciousness. Oh, this person is a white body. That person is a black body. This person is a brown body. I am British. These are poor Indians. I am rich. These are penniless. I am beautiful. These people look like monkeys. I'm educated. These people are illiterate. I am Brahmana. They are all Shudras. They are discapable. So this whole thing is a false identification through the body, being in duality. And in the scripture, such a person is often called Mudha or Manda, an ignorant person who has no understanding of the spirit and the soul. See, like when we look at a pot containing yogurt, we see everything normal. But when we look at it through a microscope, we see that it has billions of bacteria. But we would not know this until we have a microscope. Similarly, by Jnana Chakshu or by the eyes of the scriptures, we can see and understand the true cause and effect of the problems and sufferings of this world. Through mundane knowledge and understanding, we will never fathom this. Scientists will keep promising people that we are working on a magic pill that will make you immortal, and without any spiritual knowledge, people will believe in their false promises. So this is why Bhagavad Gita is important. Bhagavad Gita has direct instructions from the Lord to humans so that they can understand and lead a life which is full of regulation and guidance for their ultimate success. Krishna wants to help everyone to come out of their suffering state. This is why reading Bhagavad Gita is important. This is why reading Srimad Bhagavatam is important. This is why it is important to preach the principles of Bhagavad Gita so that people in general can be helped. So in the olden Vedic culture, the Kshatriya kings were ruling the kingdom as in a righteous manner. They themselves were very pious and qualified. They were rishis as well as Kshatriyas. They were devoted in the service of the Lord. They were full of spiritual knowledge. That's why they were called as Rajarishis. And Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.2, Imam Rajarashayo Viduhu. So this way, these kings were the representatives of the Lord. Like for example, like King Janaka, Maharaj Yudhishthir, Lord Ramachandra, Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Ishwaku, Bharat Maharaj, etc. So these kings were able to rule the kingdom in the proper way. They understood the great science of Vedic literature and rule in such a way that the citizens can come out of the clutches of the Maya. In Bhagavad Gita 3.21, Lord says, Yad yat acharati sreshtas tat tat evetaro jana sa yat pramanam kurute lokas tat anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets, by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. See, ordinary people do not understand the spiritual science. So these great kings or leaders ruled them accordingly. They took permission and guidance from the great sages regarding how to rule their kingdom. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada talked about Kshatriyas who gave up the Vedic or Brahmical culture and ran away and created civilizations. These civilizations are now different countries in the present day world. And in the present day, the kings are replaced by so-called elected leaders and politicians. But we all know that whatever these present day leaders and politicians do, they are not able to make much difference to the suffering condition of the people. Why? Several reasons. The politicians are themselves unaware of the spiritual knowledge. They are suffering from false prestige, honor, and self-interest. They are making sure that they make best use of their opportunity of elected time to make material gains and fill their pockets with money. They are making sure that their family and friends gets benefited. They never want to retire from their political life because they are so attached to name and fame. They are blind to the fact that many politicians before them have come and gone. So such a mentality is very degraded. Srila Prabhupada called them 10th class. No first class person will go to politics. In India, we see this, like all these gunda type people or all those who do not go to schools or colleges, they slowly progress to become politicians. So we can imagine what kind of leadership qualities they will demonstrate to help the society. This world leadership needs help. Think about it. If the president of the United States would not pay taxes, then why would the normal citizen would want to pay taxes, right? So Srila Prabhupada stresses that the need is to guide the political leadership by devotees. If the politicians wants to lead, that is okay. But by having this guidance from the devotees, they will be able to make a difference in the world situation, which they cannot make otherwise. It will purify the hearts of the leaders as well as the disconnected humanity will be able to align to the true purpose of their lives. Now, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes in the purport that anyone can get the mercy of the Lord, especially in the Vaishnava cult. So this means anyone, regardless, whether they are men or women or person of any caste, animals, lowest of the mankind, sinner of any variety, are qualified to take Lord's mercy. Srila Prabhupada talked about like all the Kshatriyas that ran away to all these different parts and became sinful. Even they are qualified to get mercy. Anyone and everyone is eligible to follow the devotional process, provided they take shelter of the pure devotee of the Lord. Now, Lord is very merciful and his devotees are merciful too. They can induce Krishna consciousness to anyone. When one gets this transcendental association and surrenders, there is a transformation of the heart. We will look at some examples, where the purification happened by either coming in contact with the Lord or by coming in the contact with the Lord's pure devotees. Like in Ramayana, Kevata, he was a boatman. Kevata belonged to a tribal community from caste standards. But when he served Lord Ramchandra with devotion, the Lord allowed him to render service to his lotus feet and awarded him liberation. Jatayu was a bird, a vulture to be specific. Now, normally vultures are considered degraded, even from a bird classification. But Jatayu served the Lord. He was a devotee of the Lord, and he fought till the end of his life with Ravana to rescue Mother Sita. He left his body in the Lord Rama's hands, and Lord personally performed his last rites. Lord Rama allowed the monkeys and the bears to serve him as a part of his army. Even a little squirrel served the Lord by throwing little pebbles during building the Rama Setu to Lanka. So even they were animals. They achieved the perfection of their life and found Lord's mercy. Now everyone has heard the story of Mragari, a heartless hunter who took great pleasure in half killing the animals, came in contact with great devotee Narada. He received instructions from Narada and he followed them faithfully, and he became a devotee. A person who was having great enjoyment in killing the animals half dead is now so careful that he would not even step on the ants. Such a great devotee, but just by having an unconditional mercy of the pure devotee. Dhruva Maharaj, a small boy who wanted a kingdom bigger than Brahma. He met again Narada Muni in the forest, and by seeing his determination, Narada Muni gave him instructions, and he followed the instruction faithfully, and he was able to take darshan of the Lord and receive Lord's mercy. The sage Narada himself, he was son of a maidservant. Like, what is the position of a maidservant? Nothing, very unprivileged. But by eating the remnants of the pure devotees of the Lord, he became greatest of the devotees. Lord Chaitanya, he is the Supreme Lord himself. He did not hesitate to give the Mahamantra even to Shudras and outcasts. He instructed all his followers to approach everyone. His followers, Nityananda Prabhu, Haridas Thakur, they were going everywhere, door to door, and pleading everyone to chant Lord's name and surrender unto him. Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family, but he was a devoted soul to Lord Chaitanya. Such a devotion that he was named Namacharya of the holy name in this Kali Yuga, when the Yuga Dharma is chanting of the holy name. Lord Chaitanya was personally present when he left his body. He was holding Lord's lotus feet and he was chanting Lord's name. Lord Chaitanya gave mercy to all the animals in the forest of Jharkhanda forest. Tigers, serpents, deers, they all dance together. So merciful is the Lord. And that is why he is addressed as Mahavadanyaya. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurat Vishay Namah. Nityananda Prabhu, he was even more merciful. He gave mercy even to Jagai and Madai, who were the greatest miscreants and most sinful of all sinners. Like when they heard Nityananda Prabhu and when Lord Chaitanya said he would kill them, Nityananda Prabhu stopped him. He pleaded, my Lord, in this Kali Yuga, everyone is more or like them. Please be merciful and spare them. So Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are distributing the pure love of Krishna without any discrimination. There are no exceptions. Lochan Das Thakur sings in his bhajan, Parama Karuna Pahutui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Sab Avatar Sara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. Kevala Ananda Kanda. Simply by chanting, by dancing, and by feasting on the holy remnants of Lord Krishna, everyone, whoever they may be, can attain the supreme perfection of the Prema Bhakti. And lastly, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, when he came to New York City in United States, he did not go to big places. The lower east side of the town called Bauri. Prabhupada Lilamrita has the description of this. Now, sane people will not go to that part of the town, as it was full of drug addicts. People were involved in all sorts of illegal and unethical activities. He tried to help them. He went through so many difficulties, short of assistance, short of finances. I would like to show this slide, where from Srila Prabhupada's diary in 1964. He has the description of what happened on that particular day. See here, like Srila Prabhupada says, like somebody paid him $6. Only four people attended the program. Somebody paid him another $5. So the total income was $11, and his expenditures was 30 cents. And he spent the night at Paul's place. Such a difficult time. So somebody stole his stuff, like people stole his typewriter, but he continued to preach. Everyone who approached him, he turned them into Vaishnavas. He gave them association. He cooked for them. He cleaned pots, and he changed the hippies into happies. So anyone can get mercy. We are fortunate to get this opportunity to be a part of ISKCON and have the association of Lord's devotees. So lastly, a small part on the self-application. Whatever happens, we should stay engaged. This is a big opportunity, a fortune of lifetime to be engaged in Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada's mission. We should not miss it. We should do our service without any pride and falsehood. It's very, very important. And we should acknowledge that I need help. There are many people in the world who do not know they need help. And there are many others who need help, but they don't acknowledge, they don't agree that I need help. But we should do that. We should follow every instruction that comes our way. We should tolerate, and tolerate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Tanadapi sunichena, tarodapeva sunishnena, amanena manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. And lastly, we should surrender. Only those who surrender can soak the mercy from Lord Chaitanya's mission. So thank you so much, Hare Krishna devotees.
Thank you, Abhay Prabhu. Wonderful presentation. I liked it very much. I will cover a few of your points just as a reminder. You started with the history and why Prabhupada gives long purports, and it's so that we can truly understand and get insight. You talked about in the history, you talked about Parashrama and how the Lord always protects the cows and those who protect the cows. And the story where, because of a fear of Parashrama, all of these Kshatriyas, they went to various parts of the world. And, from there, you beautifully connected to how, because they ran away, they were disconnected from Vedic life. They lost their roots, which is their proper knowledge and proper conduct in a Vedic society, and how that brings chaos. And as a result, they're not protecting the people and they're not protecting the cows. And you connected that to how, because they did not follow these traditions, they don't have the basic knowledge, they start identifying with the body, and they experience dualities, and without scriptures they can't see the true root cause of situation and problems, And Bhagavad Gita, we are blessed to have the Bhagavad Gita and association of devotees because it helps us get this knowledge. It helps us give us that perspective. I also like the point, Prabhuji, where you connected to how in present day, in the past, Raja Rishis had this knowledge, they had this understanding, and they knew how the world is supposed to work, and their spiritual path, so they can guide citizens. And you mentioned the verse that Krishna says that whatever action the great man performs, common men follow. And how that's not happening today, where today everybody is focused on material wealth, and politicians are focused on their own well-being. But we are fortunate to have devotees, because the Lord says in the verse that Sukhdev Goswami says that anybody can get mercy of the Lord in the 18th verse. So men, women, anybody, sinners, any caste, they can, and even all the Kshatriyas and their nations that they founded, they can all get salvation through association of devotees. And association brings transformation and purification. You gave many examples from the Vanaras, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, and really like the examples you gave of Srila Prabhupada. And finally, you summarized it by saying, we have to stay engaged, do our service, acknowledge that we need help, tolerate, and surrender. So very wonderful class, Prabhuji. Very eye-opening for me. So thank you, Prabhuji, for your service. Devotees, with that, we will end the program here. We will continue with this theme next week. Thank you, Abhay Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.